I'm Ev. I shall be reading from All the Good devotional book. The December 17th devotional was written by J.J. Warren. Exodus 20, verse 7 says, "You shall not make wrongful use of the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not acquit anyone who misuses his name." I love tradition, and Advent is one of the seasons I enjoy the most. Marked by simple yet meaningful traditions, Advent always felt like a time of rejuvenation, a time when hope was plentiful and gave way to greater care for one another. It was a time of togetherness, a tender season whose themes of peace and joy, hope and love always seemed to soften the harshness of winter in central New York. During the COVID-19 pandemic, however, we all experienced Advent in a new way. The closeness of the season was placed in tension with health stringent measures and church online. The safety guidelines may have felt like a litany from Exodus or Deuteronomy. Some church signs cleverly said, "Thou shalt wash thy hands," high Genesis 20:19. These rules dictated our lives for over a year, and yet we had to adapt our Advent traditions and our relationships accordingly. In Exodus 20, we are told that the Lord spoke to Moses and gave him the Decalogue, the 10 Commandments. But as a newly liberated people, why is it that one of the first commandments from God was a list of rules? And perhaps even more strange, why are we focusing on these ancient rules in the third week of Advent? Well, if we take a closer look, we'll notice that at their core, the 10 Commandments are all about relationships, equitable and just relationships. The Decalogue begins by orienting our relationship with the divine. "You shall not make wrongful use of the name of the Lord your God." During this Advent season, may we be inspired by John Wesley's vision that Christian community ought to be a means of grace. Let us reflect on how we might use the name of God as a means of grace in our relationship with others, especially with Black, Indigenous, Latinx, LGBTQ+, disabled persons, people of color. After all, the first rule of Wesley's 3 simple rules seems to parallel the first commandment: do no harm. The Decalogue continues with our relationship to labor and with those who labor. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. You shall not do any work, you, your son or your daughter, your male or female slave, your livestock, or the alien resident in your towns. How might we take care of those who labor this Advent season? How might we follow Wesley's second rule, do good, toward the overlooked and the underappreciated essential workers all around us? As we find ourselves in this Advent season, enjoying the freedoms that come with quality health care, we can look back at Advent amid a pandemic with its litany of rules and see that at our core, these rules are also about relationships, about how we cared for one another. I invite you to look at the 10 Commandments again during the season of hope and reflect on how they could inform our relationships with others this year. How might our relationships with others be a means of grace for the world?